So I have a friend. I think you know him. He works at Nike.
Okay. Oh yeah. No one.
Yeah, so he always hooks me up with the
dope,
Rams gear. So yeah, it pays to have friends, and I love having friends that work for companies that I care about. Because then you get to hook up.
Right.
So
I get you.
yeah, but I do love this sweater. It's one of the ones that I'm happy that I get to pull out now that it's cold.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to buy my some sweater or like a jacket. Wes actually has one. On my favorite soccer team in Mexico. He has like 2.
Dang.
Oh, they're dope, but they're like $100 and something.
Yeah, I know.
Not there.
Hey, one day. Yeah, I like to call it California cold.
Hey, California cold.
It's a little different than other places, but I once it hits anything below like 55, 50,
yeah,
it's too cold for me.
For real. I get you.
Hey, well, welcome to the Soul Tapes podcast. My name is Adam Cruz.
My name is Antonio Reyes.
And we want to talk today. You brought up an interesting tweet. You said you woke up this morning and opened up Twitter.
Yeah.
And after you read the Bible, right?
Right.
After you read your verse of the day. And then
I pray.
Yeah. And then you had some other wisdom come your way.
Completely. So one of the tweets that I was reading today, and I feel like it triggered me very heavily, was pray for your decisions rather than pray for your consequences.
Pray
right?
for your decisions rather than pray for your consequences.
Right. Because many of us, I feel like we habitate in our consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of actually learning how to be thoughtful and pay attention and be intentional in the way we take decisions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That takes more work.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that the conversation is gonna be about that. You know,
yeah.
How do we actually learn how to take decisions, better decisions, rather than deal with our consequences all the time.
Yeah. I like the wording specifically of praying for your decisions rather than praying for your consequences. I think when you kind of pull back in that understanding what that looks like we find ourselves in life in a position where we tend to go to God or go to this place of instinct where we're trying to, get out of a situation that we put ourselves in, right? So I like this idea of that's a very common place that we find ourselves in, where we're doing life, going about our days, making decisions, and then oftentimes is when we get in this place of there's an alert, there's oh man, this is not good. I'm not, I need to figure something out. That's when we usually go to, okay, what can I do? God, please help me, or go to friends or go to try to figure out a solution, right? But this whole tweet that you're talking about is this idea of kind of praying and meditating and really taking the power of decision making and bringing some intentionality to it, right? I think that's something that we can really kind of digest and think about.
Yeah. I literally had something in my head and it just flew away, bro.
It left you.
Yes, bro.
It left you.
I was gonna follow up with this. I think that many times. Oh, there you go. So I think that many times we react to life.
Yeah.
Instead of actually being intentional in life.
Yeah.
And we're reacting to the choices that we take. We react to the things that come in our way.
Yeah.
Not really understanding that we have the power to take control over the situation. That we have self-control, right? Given by the Holy Spirit. That's what the Bible says. And that we have the capacity to make the choices, and we have the power instead of being the victims of our decisions, right?
Yeah.
We can make the choices, and we can make the right choices, and learn how to discipline ourselves to have this self-control in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. This takes me back and reminds me of this is something that I actually talked to a lot. I was a youth leader in our church for about 10 years, basically hanging out with high schoolers, a lot of boys that I got to kind of hang out with and mentor. And one of the things that I always would tell them, especially those that, maybe were, graduating high school, especially in that time frame, right? Because high school to college is a very important and intentional season.
Right.
And one thing that I always make clear to them, I tell them, is you have to understand that the moment you graduate high school, you have everything in your power, in your might. You have to make sure that you make the decisions that you want in order to see the outcome and results in your life. And
yes.
and what I make clear to them is saying, if you don't like what your life looks like, you have every power and ability to change it. So that's something that my dad used to always tell us, me and my brother, growing up. And I always tell these kids this because I'm like, when in high school, we're told what to do from a young age to graduating high school. You're going to go from elementary school. Okay, well, now you go to middle school. You're going to go to middle school. Well, now you're going to high school. You're in high school. Well, maybe get a part-time job. Go get your license. Like, you have these markers and these things that you can do. And so for some kids, they have other responsibilities that come up based on their upbringing. But for the most part, once you graduate high school, it's a completely different season, because now whatever happens next is up to you. And I always,
that's so good.
And then the thing is, what happens is we get stuck in this mindset of thinking that life is just going to happen to me.
For real.
Like that. So I like that, that you just become reactive to what's going on.
Yeah.
And the reality is that you have a power and ability to make change and to move forward in a way that you desire. And I think that's really important for young people to know, especially because we get caught up in this idea that, I just have to kind of fight and, oh man, this happened, so now I just have to respond. But what would happen if I woke up every day praying for the decisions that I'm making? Not just making decisions based on what's going on, but making decisions based on what I'm desiring to see in my life.
Yeah, because if we take decisions based on the short road, or the short, how do you say it? That, that
Mm-hmm.
If you don't take decisions based on the whole picture and what you want to become, you're always going to make decisions based on the moment, and that's going to just take you so far. So we have to be able to evaluate the decisions that we're making, right? The decision piece is so important, because if we are only reacting to life, right, we are just based on what I'm feeling on the moment, where what is coming my way, you're never going to take control of your future, right? You're going to be 30 years, you're going to be 35, you're going to be 45, you're going to be 50, and you're going to still live the same, right? And I think that the conversation of praying for your decisions is so important, because what we're saying about praying, is like, take a pause, evaluate, and take it to God to help you process what you're trying to do. To help you process, the desire of God. He's not trying to sabotage our lives. He's not trying to take away our dreams and our desires. He's trying to help us actually align to those things. So if we don't do that, I remember literally having a conversation one time in a small group, right? And it was only men. And I remember the response of one of the guys. And we were talking because, most of the people want to be millionaires. So one of the things that I asked him, I was like, what do you think God says about that? And he was like, He's like, I don't think I ever asked him. So I think that the problem is that we trying to make decisions based on our knowledge and what we're feeling on the moment, rather than saying, what is it you trying to say, God? How can I align myself to your desires, to your heart, to your purpose, to your will in my life? And how can I actually walk there, right? Rather than just taking cheap decisions that would take us to places that they might stimulate for a moment, for a season, but
I think a lot of times what we do is that our autopilot like way of living life is in a position of control. So when we're living life in a reactive way, in a way of, oh, I'm going to go to God or I'm going to ask for help once I'm in a situation where I need it. And when we live that way, that is something that's going to be a consistent theme in our life, where we're honestly living in a way of like a facade, where we believe we have control and ability to control things in our life. But when we start every single day and saying, God, bless me, help me in the decisions that I'm making, or acknowledging that, man, I need help in this season. I think that's too, so taking out that language, it's not that I need help in this season. I need help every single day.
Yes.
Right? I need help every single day. I need to understand. So that's the thing that I think about that's interesting about decisions, is it's easy for us to focus on the big decisions, right? It's easier to focus on, oh, I made this big mistake and now there's a big consequence. It's easy for us to say, I made a really big, decision that created a really great outcome. But what ends up happening to a lot of us most of the time when we get to a place of life where there's consequences that we don't like, is we don't realize that we've made daily decisions that have attributed to this consequence that we're like, and then that's where we find ourselves in the moment of, how did I even get here? We find ourselves in this moment of, man, I don't even understand how I'm in this place, right? For a lot of us, it's when we find ourselves feeling depressed or feeling like, man, why am I so unhappy in life? Why am I so unmotivated? Why am I 15 pounds overweight? Why am I in these places of, I'm looking myself in the mirror, I don't even recognize who I am? It's because we've made decisions every single day that have attributed to putting ourselves in a position where we're finding out that the circumstances that we're experiencing aren't one big decision, but it was daily decisions that have caused us to be in this place. So I think that's something that's really
I agree with you completely. I think that we underestimate the small decisions that we take every single day. We think that our life is based on these big decisions. That might be the case sometimes, not all the time. That what build consistency in our lives is what we choose every single day of our lives. One of the interesting things, like, I remember there was this moment when I was with my wife, with Gabby, right? Taking it back, I don't know, 8 years ago. Unfortunately, I was an unhealthy man. I was not in a healthy place. I can be open completely because I'm not perfect, but I have come very far from that time. I will flirt with girls. I will text girls. I will engage with other girls, and obviously, you have that unhealthiness of a relationship, where you don't even want your girl to touch the phone because, things are going to come to surface.
Passwords change.
Bro, it's such a hard time, It's so hard to lie. It's so tiring at the same time, It's so.
I'm a terrible liar.
Bro, now I am too.
Now that's good.
Yes, which I'm happy, actually. I'm happy that I'm bad. But I remember one day, years later, right? After counseling, after healing from a lot of things, after allowing people to speak in my life, one day, I don't know where I was doing, and I was in bed, and Gabby grabbed my phone, my wife grabbed my phone, and this thought crossed my mind, and I was like, man, I'm so happy that I don't have to worry about what my wife has to look into my phone, because I know I have come far away. I have made choices every single day to honor my wife, to honor my marriage, to honor her, to honor God,
that's good.
To honor everything around me, the people that trust me and love me, that I don't have to worry about if she goes through my phone or not, But that decision was, I'd start taking that decision years before, right? Months before, that I was gonna choose. I'm gonna honor my wife, and I'm gonna honor what's around me, and that put me in a place that I wanted to be, that I never seen before in men, and I was like, oh man, I'm so thankful. Once again, I'm not perfect. I'm still working. There's a lot of work in my life. But that moment, I was so grateful for that moment. So
let me ask you this.
Don't put me in the spot.
No, I want to kind of like unpack this in a certain way.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Do you feel like what you have as far as the strength or knowledge or wisdom is particularly different than, or unattainable than for another man or another person?
No.
So what do you feel caused you, or can you describe maybe a moment where you felt like you decided to make a change, or maybe it's not one moment, but maybe it was a series of moments? Like what put you in this? Because I feel like a lot of people can relate or desire to experience that moment.
Yeah. To begin with, I was tired. I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired to live in a double life. I was tired of trying to cover everything that was around me, and I wasn't able to see a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
My desire and I long for a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship. I just didn't know how. But my goal was to achieve that one day, right? And obviously, I think that when I would see my life, I was like, do I want to keep living this type of life?
Yeah.
Where I find myself constantly being victim of my own desires, of my own impulses, of my own inconsistency, of my own unhealthy patterns, right? I'm tired.
Yeah.
I need to start making choices, right? And I couldn't do this on my own. I really need outside help to help me heal from all these things, right? Yeah. So I think that it was a two-way thing that helped me actually make the choice. One, I was tired, and the other one is that I desire a healthy marriage that I was never able to witness in anyone. I seen people marry, but it was very unhealthy. They were not happy with each other. Yeah. I see people getting divorced in my family, so and so on. So I think it was two things that motivate me. Like, I need to make this choice. Do I want to break this out? Do I want to be a man, that sets up his legacy in a healthy way, right? I'm not just thinking about me no more. I'm thinking about my legacy. Do I want to break and bring healing to men in general? Yeah. So all of a sudden, I start having all these waves of ideas that what can I become for other men, right?
Yeah. The phrase living a double life, is interesting because what it actually reveals is this idea of a lack of integrity. Because
just say that.
One of the things that I love about the word integrity is like the definition of it is essentially to be one. Yeah. Is to be the same person no matter where you are, no matter who you're with, no matter the circumstances, no matter what's going on, whether you're home alone, whether you're out with friends, whether you're with your wife, whether you're with your girlfriend, whatever it is, you're the same person. And it's funny how we find ourselves in these seasons of life where we're tired of living as two different people, is essentially what we're explaining. Completely. Right? And when you think about it in that way, it makes sense, right? But we have this journey, I feel like we all experience, where we have to make a decision of, am I going to continue to live as two different people, three different people? I would say there's people living 4 different types of lives where they're this person, that person, no matter, depending on who's around, they can change and they're different. And it's funny that I feel like that's something that God would desire for our lives. And again, like when we think about what God desires for our life, thinking about why does God desire for us to have integrity? Why, taking, religion or faith out of it, why is integrity, regardless of whether you're a believer or not, important? It's because when we are able to be one, no matter what the circumstance or situation, we're able to give people an authentic, genuine experience in a real relationship of what it looks like to be in relationship with us, right? So And the thing that's good about that is that we're no longer performing, right?
Yes.
You're not trying to be a good husband. You're just a good husband. And guess what? When you have your bad days or your tough moments, that's okay too.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we put ourselves in positions where we feel like we don't have permission to fail. We don't have permission to not be our best. We don't have permission. So, because I think when we have these moments where we're lying or we're you know, having to put up this you know, play a part that we feel like we're not, it's because we feel like we don't have permission to be our true selves.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And sometimes, you know, for me, I've experienced that in relationships and moments where it's not that the relationship is unhealthy, right? But there feels like there's certain expectations and standards that we feel like we can't meet. And I feel like as men, that's something that's pretty common. You know, something that, you know, me and my wife have experienced, you know, is when we've created rhythms and patterns in our marriage, I've experienced where, let's say there's a day. So for example, you know, very simple example. You know, I've learned, you know, in my early years of being married now, only, you know, 2.5, 3 years, whatever, you know, I've gotten really good at washing dishes. Okay. Like consistently, like, you know, it's just two of us able to kind of like, you know, wash dishes, keep the house, you know, somewhat clean. But there's days where I'm really busy with work. I'm tired, you know, have, you know, homework and just so many other things going on that maybe today you know, my wife gets home and the dishes aren't clean. And we've had moments where I know that bothers her.
Yeah, of course.
And we know, you know, maybe she's like, oh, like, you know, because she knows. And what ends up happening is, and we've had real conversations about this because I've confronted her about it and just having a genuine conversation and saying, hey, you know, and I've told her, like, you know that how consistent I am in this, right? You know that I know that you like it, that I can wash my, you know, dishes, make sure that this is clean. But there's certain days where I'm tired, I'm busy, it's not you know, the normal experience, and maybe I'm not able to get to that today. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I'm able to be consistent in this for a long period of time. So what I need, and I, you know, kind of asked her for this, is I need you to give me permission that certain days I'm just not going to be able to do this. And to give me permission to, and in a sense of, and it's not that I'm asking her for, it's not like, to understand this, right? It's not that like, this is not like some kind of thing where like I need, you know, to ask. It's a healthy conversation of saying, hey, I need to have peace in my own heart to know that I have permission from you, that you're not going to get upset or frustrated because I didn't come through with something I'm used to coming through with, right? So it's an unhealthy standard and expectation for me to be perfect in this every single time 100%, which is not realistic. So that's what I've communicated. I'm like, hey, I need you to realize what you're asking of me isn't realistic. Right?
Of course.
So that's those conversations of realizing, like, that's what's where you could get to this place in a relationship where you find that sense of healthy dialogue, right? So
I don't know how we went from making choices to integrity. But I mean, integrity is a great conversation, you know. And I think that when we're making choices, right, we need to ask ourselves, you know, I think integrity is a big piece, right? Because if we making choices, being three different people, right? That we're trying to cover all of those three personalities, quote unquote, it's gonna be very tough. Right. But when you are consistent with yourself, you're consistent with your values, you're consistent with what you believe, you know, that's more helpful because then you can make decisions based on your values. Right. And that's so important, because we taking decisions based on our values, the outcome should be healthy. Well, depending what values. But what I'm saying, let's say
or
for
at least
us,
consistent,
right? For us, you know, our values are the source of our values is, you know, Scripture and God, right? So every decision that we're making is based on those values, right? But if you don't have consistent values in your life, you're always going to be wandering around, and you guys are going to be shaky all the time, you know, and your decisions are going to be shaky, and your outcome is going to be shaky, you know, it's not going to be what you want. So when we make choices, right, we have to be so intentional. Okay, can I align this to my values? Does this align to who I am? Does this align to maybe the future that I long for, right? Even perhaps it's going to take a long time, right? Maybe it's not right away. But does this align to the core of who I am? So that's very important.
I mean, just thinking about, being so like, it's kind of like this idea of, how you love people well, right? Is, if I'm a person who holds this value, like I'm going to treat people with respect, everywhere that I go, but then I only do that when I'm, around certain people. So, you kind of get those experiences when you're like around a friend who, maybe has like a short temper or whatever it is. And, they're, when they're by themselves, maybe they're quick to go off on someone, at a restaurant or, in a place, but then they're around, one of their Christian friends or something like that. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to, I don't want to do that because I don't want to look bad in front of somebody else. And you tend to get those responses, reactions, people when they're okay with being somebody else depending on who's around. And it's I like that it kind of ties back to your values, right? Well, if your value is ultimately that you're willing to respect people no matter what, even if they make mistakes, even if they do something wrong, you're gonna, maybe you might want to correct them, but you want to do it out of love and respect. But if your value, if that only is tied to depending on who's around, then really that's not an actual value that you have, right? Ultimately, it's not, because then you would say it doesn't matter who's here, or if I'm by myself, I'm gonna be this way regardless.
Completely.
So, values. That's
and I think that we need to be willing to make certain choices, that would take maybe a long time to unfold. Right? Because I feel like many times when we take decisions based on just the moment, right? It can set us up for disappointment many times, because we want the result right away and the outcome right away. So let's be willing. For example, choose a choice that I was making, even in like health wise, right? When you make a choice to go to the gym every single day, you're not gonna get the results right away, right? It's a commitment that you're making for a long run. We have to be okay with making choices for the long run. Not for the moment, not for the next week, not for the because we live in a time where we want the outcome right away. We want the results right away. We get tired very easily. And we just switch to something else. Rather than be okay. Like, I'm going to make this choice every single day. Marriage, right? Relationships, dreams, certain goals that we have. I'm making this decision based on the angle. And the angle might be far away, if that's okay.
And it's funny because I think when we're in our, like, when we're in high school, young, dreaming about our future, right? I don't know about you, but I've always been I do know this about you. I think we both have always been big dreamers, right? Thinking about our life as these big dreams and thinking about the things that we desire, the things that we want to see in our life. I think it's funny that life doesn't come with a step-by-step like manual of how to get there, right? Like if let's say, I wanted $1 million house and I'm, 15, 16 years old in high school, I don't have necessarily the exact steps to get there, right? There's plenty of ways that I can get there. And I think about that. Imagine if we had that, where some of us might actually say, I'm not willing to make every decision that's going to take me to that outcome that I'm saying that I want, right? That we would see all the outcomes. We would see the decisions and the requirements needed for us to get there. And some of us would actually say, I'm not willing to do that, right? But so it's funny that when we think about these things that we dream and these things that we desire, there's decisions that we can take to get to those places. There's sacrifices that need to be made. And if we understand the sacrifice of those decisions, I think that's where we end up losing out on the ability for us or desire for us to actually make those decisions. I think a lot of times we desire an outcome, but we don't get it because we're not willing to sacrifice what's required.
That's so good. I remember having a conversation in my last class, and I heard this before. The class was on leadership and character development, right? And one of the last things that our teacher told us in the last class was, don't make decisions when you're hungry, when you're tired, and when you're upset. Right? Don't make decisions when you're upset, when you're tired, and when you're hungry. Right? And I think many times when we have to deal with the consequences, is that we're taking decisions based when we're tired, when we're tired of life, when we're tired of our season of our life, we're tired of the monotony of life, when we're hungry, when we're mad, right? When we're upset about things, and that's not a healthy place. We have to learn, going back to self-control, right? We have to learn how to have self-control. And I feel and I believe if every person that will believe in Jesus would develop only this piece, this piece, right? This fruit of the Spirit, right? Which is self-control. You best believe we will be in a very healthy place. Maybe it's the last fruit that we nurture in our lives, right? But anyways, going back, we have to, when we find ourselves in this place, right, we have to learn how to have self-control and stop us and give us the space, not make a choice on the moment, right? Because if not, we're going to have to end up dealing with this. That's why the prayer moment where it requires from you to step back, take a moment, evaluate, pause in life, rather than take a decision based on what is going on.
So that prayer moment is creating margin in your life, creating boundaries in your life, which I would argue, and maybe we need to do an episode on boundaries, because I think that would be,
I love
you
that.
know, but that's what it is. It's creating a boundary in our life of saying, and that's, you know, that's something that we tend to kind of ignore, is the severity of how important it is to say, hey, it's okay for me to take a step back, to create this boundary in my life, because the decision, and that's, it's like, it's funny to me. I feel like the more we grow and learn, it's every word, every decision that we make is important and has value. And, you know, I always think about how we talk about every yes is also a no, right? Every yes to something is a no to something else. If I'm saying yes to go hang out with my friends, I'm saying no to getting a good night's sleep. If I'm saying yes to going out to have dinner, I'm saying no to maybe eating healthier, you know, staying at home, saving some money. Where every yes is also a no. So we have to understand that when we make decisions, we always should ask ourselves, if I'm making a decision to do this, what is the no? If I'm saying yes to this, well, what am I saying no to?
Completely.
And I think that's where, if we start to ask ourselves those questions and we start to pray, God, is this really value? Is this what I value? Is this, like we say, is this part of my values? Does this reflect what I desire? Is this reflecting what I want? And you know, I just think it's funny because I'm like, we are getting older, because like it's funny how when as we're young, 20s, you know, 18, whatever, we make so many decisions just based off of what I want right now, what I want today. I'm hungry, let's go get In-N-Out. You know, I'm hungry, let's go do this. I'm you know, I have a little bit of money, let's go buy this. And it's like, you know, we get to this point where we start to realize, well, if my dreams and desires are really as big as I have them, then that means my decisions every single day need to be calculated, need to be very intentional, because the only way I'm going to see the dreams that I have is, first of all, to take a step back, to acknowledge that I don't have as much control as I think I have. And so when I give, you know, control over to God and say He's responsible for the outcome, then I can make steps and decisions in a wise way, hopefully saying, you know what, there's some no's, there's some yeses that need to be no's. There's some yeses that I've made that I really need to be no, because this yes that I'm making is directly contrary to the desires that I have and the dreams that I have.
And just to make this is my my last thought. I think that the important thing to understand too is that, do you want to know the state of your heart and the state of your character? Look at the quality of your decisions and your choices. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, our choices and our decisions reveal our character and the state of our heart. Yeah. So and if we feel like our choices are poor and our choices and our decisions are poor, we need to look at the state of our heart. So the problem is that sometimes we look at the symptom, which is the choices and the decisions, rather than actually going to the decision making, which is our character and our heart, right? Yeah. And some of us, if we pay attention to our heart and we nurture our soul and our heart and we take care of it and we actually take time to heal, to protect, to renovate, to take care of it. Yeah. The quality of the decisions are gonna change. Yeah. And we no longer have to deal with just our repercussions of it, but we can actually take control of that.
Yeah. As you're kind of describing that, I got the image of like taking care of a car. My dad is like a huge, probably one of his greatest passions. I mean, he has a lot of passions, but one of them is for sure cars. Since I was a kid, I always loved cars. And one of the things he's taught me, and is just that when you take care of a car, that car can last years longer than you would ever imagine, right? When you're putting oil into it regularly, when you're making sure that it has all the liquids that it needs, when you're making sure you're taking it to get maintenance, when you're making sure that you're keeping it clean, when you're making sure that you're actually taking care of the internal things that cause it to work, that what ends up happening is the quality of that experience that you have with that car, not only is it better, but it'll last longer. Yeah. And that's what we often do with our decision making and in the way we take care of our insides, right? Our internal being, is that we're ignoring and neglecting our internal soul, our spiritual life, our mental life, our emotional life, so much so that the quality of life that we're experiencing is lessening. The quality of life where we're wondering, why am I getting frustrated so much? Why am I making bad and poor decisions? Why is it that I can't see clearly? Why is it that I'm just kind of going through the motions? And I love that, asking yourself, well, what's going inside internally? What is my character? What these decisions are coming from somewhere. Yeah. I'm making them, and where are they coming from? Right? That's so good, man. I think that's really good.
I love it. Let's play the longevity game.
Yes. Yes. So. Let's go. I love that tattoo. I forget who has it. The better at 70.
Better at 70.
Justin Bieber has it.
I love it. Yeah. All these pastors and Justin to have it. I think that's amazing, Yeah. But family, we love you. Follow us, DM us if you have any suggestions. Yes. Share this podcast with your friends, with your family, with anyone that you know that may be this can be resourceful to them. And we love you.
Yeah, we are the Soul Tapes podcast. We'll see you guys next time,
and we out.
Remember the name, never the face. Preparing to face all that is calling and coming my way.